The Duterte administration had a less than cozy relationship with Washington, but with the president granting absolute pardon to a U.S. Marine, what does the move mean for relations between the two countries? Let's find out from Renato De Castro, international studies professor from De La Salle University. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on the program. In your view, was bridging the gap with the United States a key reason for President Duterte to grant Pemberton an absolute pardon?
Well, I won't go that far of breaching the gap. I would say it's clearing the air, trying to create a better situation for the two countries to interact, to stabilize the relationship that, of course, had been rocked by early pronouncements of President Duterte then in 2016 about pursuing an independent foreign policy, which actually means gravitating towards China and Russia. So what he basically did is create a nice clear the air, basically create the right milieu or ambience wherein the two countries could continue and stabilize their security relationship in the light of current developments, of course, in the South China Sea.
You mentioned about a closer military relationship. Is President Duterte trying to insinuate here that that the
I won't go that far.
VFA
I would say
the
stabilize.
VFA will not be terminated and be suspended?
I think the suspension will remain. Let's see what will happen. Supposed to be 6 months, extended from February, 6 months, then another 6 months. That will be next year. Let's see what will happen. Whether we will have BFA as business as usual, or as mentioned by our ambassador to Washington, D.C., Ambassador Romualdez, they're cooking up something. A BFA that's not supposed to be that unfair to the Philippines, following the format of our status of forces agreement with Australia, or looking at possible status of forces agreement by the United States with Japan and South Korea, wherein, of course, once the case had been settled, then it will be the host country that will take charge of the convicted, like what would happen, of course, in Japan or in South Korea, not in the case of the Philippines.
So do you think that this is a fair agreement if ever it does materialize, Professor?
That's what it's being tried. That Ambassador Romualdez said that he's cooking up with U.S. Ambassador Sung Kim, a BFA that's at least similar. No, what's he saying? Similar to the status of force agreement we have with Australia, wherein once it was determined that the crime has been committed outside of the duty of the serviceman, that automatically he falls into the jurisdiction of the host state. That is not, of course, part of the BFA we have with the United States.
So if currently you're saying that this could stabilize relations between the United States and the Philippines, could it happen now? Because the U.S. presidential elections are in 2 months.
We don't know what will happen, of course. Well, it was a statement by President Duterte that hopefully the relationship would continue to stabilize, meaning you won't have any situations where, of course, the Philippines again, or President Duterte again, would be criticized for human rights violation, like what happened during the time of President Obama. Now, of course, that changed when you have President Donald Trump taking over when he visited Manila in 2017. He hardly mentioned anything about human rights violation, extrajudicial killings. In fact, he praised the drug war being implemented by the current administration.
With the stabilizing of relations between the Americans and the Philippines, how do you think will the Chinese and the Russians react to this?
Well, I don't think the Russians will be so much concerned. It will be the Chinese. Because I noticed you have 3 developments that happened late August that indicate that we are again gravitating again to the American orbit. Number 1 was the statement by Secretary Teodoro Locsin during an interview in ANC when he said, if any of our Philippine Navy ship is attacked by the Chinese, then the Philippines will invoke the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. This is the first time that a ranking Duterte administration official, and of course the top, the second top diplomat, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, said that invoking the Mutual Defense Treaty is on the cards, on the table. President Duterte, at the start of his term, always showed that he's very skeptical that the United States would come to our assistance. Even during his speech in Sona, he hardly mentioned the Mutual Defense Treaty. Remember? He said, you have a battalion of Marines in Palawan. If the Chinese would attack us, that's the end of us. He hardly mentioned the fact that we have an alliance with the United States. And, in any alliances, if you're attacked by a third party, you can invoke the whatever legal instrument you have. This is the first time. Then during the confirmation of AFP, chairman of the Chief of Staff, Gilbert Gapay, when he mentioned, yes, we will continue our interaction with the United States. At the same time, we're opening our economic windows for China.
So there
again,
are signs right now.
The importance of the alliance.
There are signs right now that the Philippines and President Duterte want a cozier relationship with the United States. But who do you think in November will be more pro-Philippines? Will it be President Trump or will it be the Democratic nominee Joe Biden?
That is a very simplistic analogy. When it comes to foreign affairs, usually they have a bipartisan. So how would I look at it? I would always look at it in terms of what is basically the primary concern with the United States, whether you have a Democrat there or Republican. The current concern, of course, is the strategic competition with China. This is where they would place the Philippines. So the position, of course, since this began, when the United States announced in around December 2017 that we are we are in a strategic competition with China. China is undermining the rule-based international system. That's where, of course, we figure in the Philippines as an ally. We have to basically ensure that the United States, the Philippines remain as an ally of the United States. So they will always look at it from this angle. Of course, President Trump has a different approach. He basically ignored issues like extrajudicial killings, human rights violation, and I won't say that President Biden, when unravel everything that President Trump has basically put it on the table. So let's see what will happen, because the primary concern is for them, it's not the Philippines per se, how the Philippines should be placed within the larger picture of the U.S.-China strategic competition, which is actually now a strategic confrontation.
All right. Thank you so much for your insights, Professor Renato De Castro from De La Salle University.